Have you ever witnessed an injustice so blatant that it made your blood boil? Today, I'm going to tell you a true story that took place in one of the most luxurious mansions in Beverly Hills, a story that forever changed the lives of 3 people. What began as an elegant dinner among friends ended with a revelation so shocking that it left everyone present in absolute silence. This is the story of how an immigrant maid, constantly humiliated by her employer, discovered that sometimes justice comes from the most unexpected places. And when you hear about the reaction of this arrogant woman's husband, I'm sure you'll be as surprised as I was when I learned about this story. Get ready, because this is not just another tale about social differences. It's about human dignity, about how a person's true character is revealed in the most unexpected moments, and about how some people hold secrets that can change everything in a matter of seconds. Our story takes place at the elegant Blackwood residence in Beverly Hills. Victoria Blackwood, 45, was known throughout the area as the wife of one of California's most successful businessmen. Blonde, always impeccably dressed in designer clothes, Victoria had everything money could buy: expensive jewelry, luxury cars, and a $2 million mansion with a view of the Hollywood Hills. But behind all this ostentation, Victoria hid a cruel and prejudiced personality. She treated those she considered inferior with a contempt that was almost pathological. To her, having money gave her the right to humiliate anyone she pleased, especially those who depended on her to survive. On the other side, we have Isabella Rodriguez, a 38-year-old woman who had arrived in the United States 5 years earlier from Honduras. Isabella left behind her 2 young children and a husband who had lost his job, hoping to find work and send money back home. She was a woman with a pure heart, an indefatigable worker who woke up every day at 5 in the morning to take care of the Blackwoods' enormous mansion. Isabella spoke English with a heavy accent, which Victoria constantly used to mock her in front of guests. Despite all the humiliations, Isabella endured everything in silence, thinking of her children who depended on the money she sent to Honduras each month. And then there's James Blackwood, Victoria's husband. At 50, James was a respected businessman, the owner of a tech company worth millions. Tall, with graying temples, always elegant in his tailored suits, James seemed to be the perfect husband for Victoria. But there was something about James that neither Victoria nor anyone else knew, a secret he had kept for years, one that was about to come to light in the most unexpected way possible. It was a Friday in October when Victoria decided to host a dinner to impress some influential couples from Beverly Hills high society. She had spent weeks planning every detail: flowers imported from the Netherlands, a menu prepared by a renowned chef, and the table set with the family's finest china. "Isabella!" Victoria shouted from the dining room, her voice echoing through the mansion like a whip. "Come here immediately!" Isabella dropped what she was doing in the kitchen and rushed to her employer. She was wearing her simple uniform, her hair tied back in a bun, her hands still damp from washing dishes. "Yes, Mrs. Blackwood," Isabella said, lowering her gaze as she always did. "Look at this table." Victoria pointed dramatically at the dining table. "How can you be so incompetent? These glasses have water spots. The napkins aren't folded properly. And this silverware, my God, it looks like it hasn't been polished in months." Isabella looked at the table. In truth, everything was impeccable. She had spent 3 hours just arranging and cleaning every item. But she knew Victoria always found something to complain about, especially when she was nervous. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Blackwood. I'll fix everything," Isabella replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "It's not just about fixing, Isabella. You need to understand that important people are coming to this house tonight. People who aren't used to people like you making mistakes." Victoria's tone was venomous. She knew exactly what she was doing, attacking not only Isabella's work but her origins, her status as an immigrant. "I understand, Mrs. Blackwood. I'll make everything perfect," Isabella responded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "And another thing," Victoria continued, stepping dangerously close to Isabella. "When the guests arrive, you'll stay in the kitchen. I don't want to see you serving at the table. I don't want them hearing that awful accent of yours or watching you stumble over the furniture like you always do." Isabella felt tears burning in her eyes but held them back. She thought of her children, the bills to pay, the family that depended on her. "Yes, Mrs. Blackwood. As you wish." Victoria smiled with cruel satisfaction. "Good. And if you mess anything up tonight, you can start looking for another job. I'm fed up with your incompetence." As Isabella returned to the kitchen with a broken heart, she had no idea that James had overheard the entire conversation from the top of the stairs. His face was red with anger, his fists clenched. He knew the real Isabella, the brave, intelligent, hard-working woman. Victoria insisted on humiliating. At 7 o'clock sharp, the first guests began to arrive. The most influential couples in Beverly Hills paraded through the mansion's entrance: Michael and Sarah Thompson, owners of a luxury hotel chain; Robert and Jennifer Martinez, he a federal judge, she an art gallery owner; and Thomas and Patricia Williams, he a state senator, she a nationally known philanthropist. Victoria was in her element. Radiant in her dark blue Versace silk dress and a pearl necklace that cost more than Isabella earned in 2 years. She greeted each guest as if she were the queen of a kingdom, smiling and making comments about politics, art, and business. "Dear friends," Victoria said, leading the group to the living room decorated with Italian furniture, "I hope you enjoy our little gathering tonight. James and I always make a point to host our friends with the very best." James descended the stairs at that moment, impeccable in his black tuxedo. But unlike his wife, he seemed tense, preoccupied. All day, he couldn't stop thinking about the scene he had witnessed that morning. "James!" exclaimed Patricia Williams, approaching with a warm smile. "How are you? I heard your company closed another multimillion-dollar deal with Apple." "Yes, Patricia, thank you for asking," James replied politely, but his heart wasn't in it. His eyes scanned the house, wondering where Isabella was and whether Victoria had continued to mistreat her during the day. The dinner was served by outsourced staff Victoria had hired specifically for the occasion. While everyone savored the grilled salmon with champagne sauce and discussed their latest investments and trips to Europe, Isabella remained hidden in the kitchen, preparing desserts and ensuring everything ran perfectly. Then, the unthinkable happened. Patricia Williams, wanting to compliment the food, asked, "Victoria, this chocolate tart is divine. Who made it? Did you hire a special chef?" Victoria, already a bit tipsy from the wine, laughed with disdain. "Oh no, dear. It was our maid. An immigrant who barely speaks English properly. Honestly, it's the only thing she knows how to do without messing up." An awkward silence fell over the table. The guests exchanged uncomfortable glances. Thomas Williams, the senator, cleared his throat, clearly bothered by the comment. "Well," said Sarah Thompson, trying to lighten the mood, "she certainly has a talent for baking." "Talent?" Victoria let out a bitter laugh. "Dear, she's just a refugee who came here fleeing poverty. People like her are only good for manual labor. She's lucky to have found someone willing to employ people like her." Jennifer Martinez nearly choked on her wine. "Victoria, maybe you shouldn't." "Shouldn't what?" Victoria interrupted, her voice growing louder. "Tell the truth. This is my house, and I can say whatever I want about my employees." At that moment, James could no longer contain himself. He stood up from his chair so abruptly that his wine glass nearly toppled over. "Victoria, stop it now!" His voice thundered through the dining room. All the guests turned to him, shocked. Victoria froze. She had never seen her husband speak to her like that in front of others. "James, what's gotten into you?" she stammered. "What's gotten into me?" James repeated, his eyes blazing with anger. "What's gotten into me? Victoria, you just humiliated one of the most hardworking and honest people I've ever met, in front of our guests, as if she were less human than us." "But James, she has a name," James shouted, making everyone flinch. "Her name is Isabella Rodriguez. And she's not just anything." The silence in the dining room was deafening. Victoria was pale as a ghost. The guests barely dared to breathe. James was trembling with anger, but also with something else: shame, regret, years of silence. "James, you're embarrassing me in front of our friends," Victoria whispered, trying to regain control of the situation. "Embarrassing you?" James laughed bitterly. "Victoria, you have no idea what real shame is." He turned to the guests, who were visibly uncomfortable. "I apologize to all of you for having to witness this. But there's something I need to say, something I should have said a long time ago." Victoria felt her blood run cold. "James, don't. Isabella Rodriguez is not just our maid," James continued, ignoring his wife's protests. "She holds a degree in civil engineering from the National University of Honduras. She designed bridges, buildings, and infrastructure projects that benefited thousands of people in her country." The guests looked at each other stunned. Patricia Williams let out an almost inaudible, "Oh my God!" "But wait, it gets even better," James continued, his voice gaining strength. "Isabella didn't come to the United States because she was fleeing poverty, as my wife likes to say. She came because her engineering consulting firm was threatened by drug cartels that wanted her to facilitate the transport of narcotics through the structures she designed." Victoria tried to interrupt. "James, this has nothing to do with. It has everything to do with it," James exploded. "She refused, Victoria. She refused dirty money that could have made her rich. She chose to abandon her career, leave her children with their grandmother, and come here to clean houses rather than make money from drug trafficking." Tears began to roll down James's face. The guests were in complete shock. "And you know what else, Victoria? For the past 5 years, while you humiliated her every day, Isabella has been sending half her salary to an NGO that helps orphaned children in Honduras. The other half she sends to support not only her own children but also her sister's children, who lost their mother to cancer because they couldn't afford treatment." Jennifer Martinez brought her hand to her chest, moved. Thomas Williams shook his head in admiration. "But the best part," James continued, now looking directly into Victoria's eyes, "is that for the past 2 years, Isabella has been studying at night to revalidate her engineering degree. She spends all day working in this house, enduring your humiliations, and then stays up until 2 in the morning studying for exams." Victoria was in a panic. "James, how do you know all this?" "Because I've been helping her, Victoria," James shouted. "For 2 years, I've been paying for an immigration lawyer to regularize her status. I've been paying for an advanced English course. And last week, Isabella passed the final exam to revalidate her degree." The silence that followed was so profound that you could hear the ticking of the antique clock in the entry hall. "She no longer works for us, Victoria," James said, his voice now calmer but firm. "Starting Monday, Isabella Rodriguez will be the new project director at my company, with a salary of $200,000 a year." Victoria dropped her napkin to the floor. The guests were speechless. "And there's more," James continued. "Yesterday, Isabella signed the documents to bring her 2 children to the United States. They'll arrive next month with family reunification visas." Then James did something no one expected. He went to the kitchen and returned with Isabella, who had red eyes from crying. She had overheard the entire conversation. "Isabella," James said in front of everyone, "I apologize on behalf of my family for all the years of humiliation you endured in this house. You are an extraordinary woman, and it's an honor to work with you." Isabella, with tears in her eyes, responded in perfect English, without an accent. "Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. I forgive everything because I know that the pain we cause others always comes back to us in some way." What happened after that dinner changed the lives of everyone involved forever. Victoria, humiliated in front of Beverly Hills high society, saw her reputation crumble overnight. The story spread like wildfire through the region's social circles, and she learned firsthand what it meant to be excluded, judged, and despised. Many of her friends stopped inviting her to events, whispering behind her back about her cruel behavior. James, who had kept that secret for 2 years, finally felt free. He divorced Victoria 6 months later, gaining custody of their 2 teenage children, who were proud to learn of their father's actions. Isabella became not only an exemplary employee at James's company but one of the most respected professionals in Los Angeles' construction industry. Her innovative and sustainable projects caught the attention of specialized media, and she was invited to give lectures at universities about engineering and immigration. When Isabella's children, 12-year-old Miguel and 10-year-old Sofia, finally arrived in the United States, she rented a beautiful house in a safe Los Angeles neighborhood. On their first night together after 5 years apart, Isabella took them to a Honduran restaurant, where she told them the whole story, from the humiliations to the turnaround. "Mom," said Miguel, holding her hand, "you're the bravest person I know." "No, Mijo," Isabella replied, smiling through her tears. "Courage isn't about not feeling fear. Courage is doing what's right even when we're afraid." 6 months after the fateful dinner, Isabella received an unexpected letter. It was from Victoria. Dear Isabella, the letter began. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to apologize. These past months, I've been reflecting on my behavior and realized I became a person I would despise myself. I've started therapy and volunteer work at an immigrant shelter. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope you know I recognize my mistakes. With sincere regret, Victoria. Isabella kept the letter but never responded. Some forgiveness, she knew, was given in silence. This true story teaches us several profound lessons about human nature and how we should treat one another. First, it shows us that we should never judge a person by their appearance, accent, profession, or social status. Behind every face is a complex story, struggles we don't know, and achievements we can't imagine. Isabella could be anyone we encounter every day: the office cleaner, the restaurant waiter, the Uber driver. Each has a unique story, dreams, talents, and dignity that deserve respect. Second, the story shows us the power of justice when it finally arrives. Victoria spent years believing her money and social status gave her the right to humiliate others. But life has a way of balancing things out. What we sow, we reap. The cruelty we spread comes back to us multiplied. Third, we see how sometimes the true heroes are not those who make grand public gestures but those who quietly do what's right. James could have continued pretending he didn't see Isabella's suffering. But he chose to act, even knowing it would cost him his marriage. And finally, Isabella's story teaches us about resilience, about dignity in the face of adversity, about maintaining our humanity even when others try to dehumanize us. How many Isabellas are around us? How many people work in silence, enduring humiliations, fighting to build a better future for their families? And how many Victorias are out there? People who have forgotten that wealth and status don't make us superior to anyone? The next time you meet someone who works to serve you, whether at a restaurant, in your home, or at a store, remember Isabella. Remember that this person has a story, dreams, and a family that loves them. Treat them with the dignity every human being deserves. Because in the end, it doesn't matter how much money we have in the bank, what car we drive, or what neighborhood we live in. What truly matters is how we treat our fellow human beings, especially those who depend on us in some way. Isabella today is a fulfilled woman, reunited with her children, professionally respected. Victoria still struggles to rebuild her reputation and, more importantly, to become a better person. And James? James sleeps peacefully every night, knowing he did the right thing. This is the beauty of true justice. It may take time, but it always arrives. And when it does, it transforms not only the lives of those who were wrong but also everyone around them. The question that remains is, when faced with a situation of injustice, which character in this story will you choose to be?